My name is Kathy, and I wanted to take a moment to speak to you about one of the agencies United Way supports, the Salvation Army. At age 16, my parents got divorced and my mom started dating again. I guess I had a bit of an attitude problem, and I ran away, which I guess would be a slight overreaction. That's when I was signed over to the state as an unruly child. While I was waiting for a room to open in a foster home, I had to stay at the Salvation Army Emergency Shelter in Hartford. I stayed there for about 60 days, and this facility housed about 50 teenagers on the second floor, and the third floor was reserved for abused women and their children. Every day, we had group counseling, then private counseling. There was a classroom, and we went to school every day. We ate meals as a group, and chores were assigned. There was a behavioral system that you had to earn your privileges. As a 16-year-old, I kind of resented that, but looking back at it later, I realized that for some, that's the only structure they ever had. You can't begin to imagine some of the horrible things that we saw there and that we encountered. But let's just say some of the stuff that you see on TV is real. I consider myself the lucky one in the group. A spot finally opened up in a foster home, and I went back to public school, graduated, got married, and got pregnant. To make a long story short, I found myself homeless again. This time I had two choices, St. Vincent's de Paul or Salvation Army in Waterbury. Now, the Salvation Army in Waterbury typically was set up for families, but because I was pregnant, they made the exception. This time, my stay was a bit different. I witnessed how their food bank ran, their daycare, after-school programs, the canteen, the shelter, and I was so taken back that I just needed to be a part of it. After about a month there, I found a reasonable rent about 3 miles away, and I walked back every day just to volunteer. A little push forward, when I was 36, I sat in a restaurant along the side of 3 of my co-workers in hopes of being named Employee of the Year. I didn't win that year, but I felt like I had. The restaurant that we sat in was just one street over, parallel to the Waterbury Shelter Salvation Army. I was overwhelmed by the journey that took me just one street over. 24 hours a day, they are there to provide what care they can for folks. They give assistance, but they give a lot more than that. They give you tools to become a proactive solution to your own problems. They empower you. I can never repay them for what they did to me, for me, or the lessons that I learned, but I can try. 29 years ago, someone's donation, maybe even yours, made a huge difference in my life, and I will forever be grateful. You can make a difference, no matter what the size of the donation, so please give United.
I kept it a secret for many years. He did everything humanly possible that he could do to try to destroy me.
A scar never really go away. You can put something over it to cover it, but it's still there.
It's not your fault. It had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with the abuser.
I was sexually assaulted when I was a child. Never told anyone. I kept it a secret, and it always was there haunting me. And it was somebody that I knew and so-called trusted. And I realized that I never really dealt with the effects, the emotional effects of what I had gone through. And I decided that I really needed to talk to somebody and finally come to terms, with what happened to me.
my own family dealt with the rape of a niece of mine. It was a very, very difficult time for all of us, and one of the things that I learned from that experience, really from watching my father and watching my brother, the father and the grandfather of this beautiful girl, was how difficult these things are for other people. Fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, boyfriends, husbands, children. It's devastating. And it's complicated. And there's no easy fix.
My ex-husband was very verbal and physically abusive to me. He'd be horrible in the morning when he woke up, and he'd come home be as nice as cake. So I was always walking on eggshells, trying to make everything perfect and not make any mistakes. But it was never good enough. When I was pregnant, he pushed me. I lost my first baby. He, threw me over the couch a few times. I was in the emergency room, I was in the walk-in, but it was never the truth. It was never what happened. It was always, falling down the stairs or bumping my head or, being head-butted by a baby, for black and blue marks on my face and stuff.
It started where he was more or less wanting to fight all the time, and no matter what, it was always a jealousy. My whole thing is a jealous part about the rage that he had, because any little thing, even to go get my hair done, that was a problem. The physical part came in, I would say 10 years after being together, became more violent in that way. And to see a 7-year-old have to worry about, I'm not gonna go here, I'm gonna go where mom said go. Even though I wanna be here, I can't be here because daddy's gonna beat up mommy. Why should a child know about someone beating up someone? You know what I'm saying? Especially to the point where it's your parents. Look at them kids and think about them kids and, what's going on in their head. And when your child feel like it's being taken away and it's out of your control, if daddy don't want to pay attention to it, mommy's supposed to. That's my opinion. So, it's hard, but they were worth it. It's worth it. So,
I would open up little by little. That's why it's a process. It takes time. Before you have to feel comfortable with the person you're talking to and feel like you can trust them. And everything at Safe Haven is strictly confidential. So once I got over that initial hurdle, it was not hard for me to discuss it all.
They're just wonderful. I can't say enough about Safe Haven, and Safe Haven saved my life.